therefore Andrew was right, and you just took the fattest L of your career,
No,
sir.
but hold on. Let me just fucking rip out my chapter 3 from debateuniversity.com. You son of a gun. Here, I got you, Andrew, because the perfect woman, but that's it. But you have to do this, which in the hypothetical presented would suggest that she is perfect, but this one thing.
So then you're not, so, okay, but this doesn't make any sense because you're already making the claim she's not perfect. So why would you bow for the woman?
You're overthinking it. Andrew, you're overthinking it.
Hang on, the initial premise
Ashley McKee
was
donated
that...
$100.
Hold on.
Is the investment more important, though? My kids are 1 and 2 and we have a third on the way.
Ashley,
I just want to give them the time they need so they grow up well. Thank you for your criticism.
Thank you, Ashley.
Well, I'm not trying to criticize you. I'm just trying to point out that, yeah, that's an investment. And yes, you should submit either way. Andrew, even if you're the primary breadwinner, you should still submit because that's still an investment. It's still an investment.
Andrew, can I ask you a question? Andrew, let me ask you a question. Thank you, Ashley. I appreciate it. Thank you. Andrew, you're a proponent of marriage, Christian man, Orthodox Christian.
Yes, I am a proponent of marriage.
Now,
yes,
would you have any quarrel with a man kneeling to propose to his girlfriend?
Yeah, I don't think you should kneel to propose. Yeah.
But men do. But men
do.
I
think they probably shouldn't.
I agree with you there.
Well, I don't know what's the quarrel. Right?
Well, okay, then I was hoping you'd say, right.
You were hoping I would take the alternative position.
You knew that. But look, I'm just saying, look, okay, you're trying to get me on a technicality.
I'm going to grant it and say Andrew Wilson thinks you should. That's not an active submission.
Okay,
it's not an active submission to kneel to ask for the marriage because what you're actually doing, right, is you're saying, listen, this is the one time in my life that I'm going to show you some vulnerability as I ask you for this great leap from you. The one time ever. Now, if this motherfucker got on his knees every other day to propose, you would agree that there's a problem there, right? But like one time, like if you said to me, Andrew, I bowed once to the perfect woman, that's different. But you said you would bow. You would bow to the perfect woman. What? Like she's going to hit the door and Brian's going to bow? Bro, I'm
not going to allow you to gish gallop, Andrew. You gish galloper. You're going to, hold on. You want me to answer the question? I'm going to answer the question. Okay?
Answer the question, bro.
Now back to this. Okay, so back to this. So Andrew, here's the thing, right? I would rather die on my feet than live on my knees, and you're in favor of kneeling one time. I would rather die on my feet, and as if you bow, you're still on your feet. Boom, roasted, lawyered. Boom.
Okay, so hang on. If you propose with a bow,
Just Gerald donated $100.
Would you recommend that
Ashley,
that men
if you
propose with
stopped
a bow?
paying to send in TTS messages, you'd probably have to work less.
Well, we appreciate it.
What if a man proposed with a bow? Is that okay then? Because he's still on his feet, Brian.
If he proposed with a bow?
Yeah, so he, instead of getting on one knee, he bowed his entire body over and held the ring up like so. Would that be okay? And then you hold the ring straight up above your head, and then bow your whole body over. And you're
shifting the goalpost.
Yeah, can you do that, Brian? Is that okay?
You shifted the goalpost.
No, bro.
Logical fallacy. You need verbal combat, honestly, Andrew. You should take your own course, bro.
I did debate myself recently and lost, by the way.
Can we do it again? Wait, can we do it? Oh, Austin?
Yes.
Can we have Andrew debate Andrew really quick? Just super quick. We should probably have Andrew or Austin do this.
Okay, hang on. Save it towards the end. We'll do it towards the end. Because I have a topic I want to debate. He's got to reverse it.
Transform. Flip horizontal. All right, and then I think hide one.
No, we have to save it for the end, Brian. I have a topic on this.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Never mind. You can. Well, hide. Go back to the split. Just hide them. Okay. Well, look. Okay. So, Andrew, you're trying to tackle me here. You're trying to tackle me on the word perfect. You know what? I'll just go ahead.
Okay. Well,
I'll grant you. I will grant you.
Perfect means without flaw.
Okay. So, but here's the thing. In this scenario, I think here's the difference. The woman isn't asking me to bow. So the scenario is I'm making a deal with.
Wait, you're making a deal?
Okay. I'm not making a deal with the woman. I'm making the deal with a genie. And there's a genie in a bottle. And the genie says, Brian, I will give you the perfect woman. She does not request this of you, but you must do it. You will have to bow. Hold on. Andrew, I'm not going to allow you to. Hold on. You got to let me finish here.
All right,
you got to let me finish my point.
I'm sorry, bro. Go ahead.
Okay, so, Andrew, the genie is the sort of arbiter, the executioner of this tragic burden on me to bow to this woman. But it's not the woman who is requesting me to do this. The genie has created the scenario. In order for me to get this perfect woman, I must do this. How can, in this scenario, the woman not be perfect?
Well, this is actually a great question. I'm going to answer it for you. Your premise is flawed. So the genie could not actually grant the wish. This is illogical. The wish is for the perfect woman. If the genie says, great, I'll give you the perfect woman, but you have to bow to her, then the genie could not give you that woman because she would not be perfect.
That doesn't make any sense. I'm sorry.
Okay, bro.
It doesn't make. I'm sorry. But so what? Okay, let me ask you a question. If you were talking to the genie, what about her would not be perfect?
Okay, well, I'll answer your question. From your purview of what you consider the perfect woman, if you had all of those qualities, plus you didn't have to bow, but you also had all of those qualities, but you did, which of those women would you take?
I would prefer to not have to bow.
Well, then we already know your criteria for the perfect woman.
But that has nothing to do.
Hang on. So if you ask the genie for the perfect woman, then the genie says, I'll give you the perfect woman, but you have to bow, he's not giving you the perfect woman. Therefore, the premise is flawed.
Well, hold on. He is giving me the perfect woman. He's giving me an imperfect life scenario. There's nothing wrong.
With the imperfect woman?
What's that? Hold on,
It's an
Andrew.
imperfect
Wait.
woman.
Okay, let me ask you a question. So,
Okay.
if a genie says, I'll give you $1 million per day, but you have to do a bow, or the genie says, I'll give you $1 million per day and you don't have to do the bow, do you not get the $1 million per day if you take the bow? You still get the same thing.
Well, wait a second. No, you don't. Because if you say, no, I won't take the bow, you don't get the $1 million. Is that correct?
That would be correct, yes.
Yeah, well then, it wouldn't be the same thing. So you're getting two different criteria here. The first one, you bow, you get the $1 million. The second one, you don't bow, you don't get the $1 million.
Well, hold on, Andrew. Let me ask you a question. What if I don't know if this is compelling, but a perfect woman, her standard for dating a man is that he needs to earn $1 million a year.
Okay.
I have not thought this one through. Hold on, let me think.
Those analogies on the flyer.
She is the perfect woman, but the man does not earn $1 million a year. Is she no longer the perfect woman, despite his own inadequacy?
No.
She is or she's not?
She's not.
She's not the perfect woman.
She would still be the perfect woman, despite this inadequacy, because entailed in the premise is she's the perfect woman. She wants the perfect man, but the perfect man must make $1 million. Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah.
Andrew, listen, bro. We're getting caught up on the word perfect here. Let's get back to the.
Perfect means without flaw, right? You agree?
Let's get back to the spirit of the conversation, right? Now, you've managed to derail the conversation with this hyper focus on the word perfect. I get it. Andrew. Listen, you're a master debater. I get it. But let's get back to the spirit of the question, which was,
okay.
Would I bow?
Submit.
Andrew, would the perfect woman, I just have to bow and I get the perfect woman? Yeah, I'll do it. That's it.
Okay, but the entailment there is that you think the perfect woman wouldn't make you bow, and so therefore, if you think the perfect woman wouldn't make you bow, it can't be the perfect woman, right?
Just for simplicity's sake, I will go ahead and grant you that she is imperfect now. Okay. But she's.
So you will bow to the imperfect woman, Brian?
Oh, Andrew, you trickster, you. Andrew, you little trickster. You're a little trickster, Andrew. Wait, Andrew, what about this? She's the imperfect woman. She's perfect in every way, except this one. Will you grant that?
Yeah, so if you're saying that in every other way than the way that she makes you submit every single day to her, she's perfect, I can grant that, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I would hit the bow.
So what you're saying is that you will submit to the woman who you think is perfect, even though the imperfection of her making you submit makes her imperfect. You would still submit if she had all the other criteria other than that, right?
Look, man, I know you're doing your Tai Chi, Judo, or whatever. You're overthinking this, Andrew. You're overthinking this. You're trying to get me to be like, just to basically admit that I'm a soy boy, okay? I know what you're doing. I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to get a little clip. Here's the thing, Andrew. Listen.
Well, let me ask you a question real quick. Is bowing submission?
I would, look, do you bow to a king?
Sure. That's
You would be submissive?
Yeah. Yeah, I would bow in deference to men who were above my station if I was in feudal Europe.
You know what? I will grant it, Andrew. I will grant that bowing is submissive. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'll grant it.
So I just want to make sure we got this on record, that there are cases where you are going to submit to women.
No. Hold on, Andrew. Be precise in your language. I will submit to the penultimate perfect woman.
You will submit to the imperfect woman.
No. Hold on. You got to use my language here. She's the penultimate perfect woman. You know what penultimate is? I know it's a big word.
No.
Big word, Andrew. Penultimate. Secondary ultimate. Hold on, let me Google
So
that.
you would, okay, got it. So you would submit to a less than perfect woman.
Next to last? Wait, fuck. Last but one in a series of second last? Wait, hold on.
Second to last, yeah. So, okay, so let's use the word in reverse, supersede. So supersede, you would agree, supersede, I know it's a big word, Brian, but you would agree that the word supersede means to come before. And so if we're talking about perfect, and we have perfect, and then second perfect is less than perfect, and you would admit that perfect supersedes less than perfect, you would bow to less than perfect.
That is correct, Andrew. That is correct. But Andrew, let's say I don't accept this scenario. I refuse to do the bow. And in so doing, in reality, I end up with a woman who is orders of magnitude worse than the supposed, just slightly less than imperfect woman. Is it
I'm
worth?
not fucking bowing to a woman, bro.
Andrew?
Like, regardless of the circumstances, I'm not going to bow my head to a woman. I'm not ever going to do it. And even if that meant that I was in a worse situation than I was before that, I'm not bowing my head to a woman.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question, Andrew. I'm going to ask you a comparison.
Okay.
So, woman.
If it's under threat of coercion, if that's what your hypothetical is, then yes.
No.
If it's under threat of coercion, then sure.
Let me ask you a question, Andrew. So you have two women. One of the women, and you have to pick one. Okay. One of the women is an atheist, liberal, feminist, obese, BPD, bipolar, depressed, on a slew of antipsychotic, anti-anxiety, anti-depression drugs. She is infertile. She's a biatch. Her name is Andrina.
Destiny.
Sure.
It's Destiny.
She has pink hair.
Yep.
The physiognomy is...
She's heinous.
It's bad.
Yeah.
She, again, atheist woman. She'll never convert to Orthodox Christianity.
Yep.
Did I say infertile?
Yeah.
But you never have to bow to this woman. Never.
Yeah.
Never.
And all things else are
And she
equal,
smells.
right?
And she smells.
So
Hold
hang on. So
Well,
all other things. Okay, go ahead. So, but all other things are equal. My choice is between that or the perfect woman, except she's not perfect because I have to bow to her, right?
Well, hold on. Let me paint the picture for the other woman.
Okay.
The other woman, beautiful, fertile, Orthodox Christian, virgin, will give you 7 sons. That Bible verse, I don't recall it. Children in a man's youth are like arrows in the hand of a warrior, okay? She'll give you 7 sons, Andrew. She's a babe. She's hot. Submissive, Andrew. Feminine, beautiful.
But I have to bow to her.
But once a day, 3 seconds, you got to hit the bow. Which woman do you pick?
Mm-hmm. And I just want to make sure all other things are equal.
What do you mean? All other things are equal?
So everything else remains the same except these 2 conditions.
The 2 conditions? There's a lot of conditions, Andrew.
Yeah, I know, except the differences between woman A and woman B, everything else stays the same.
Could you give me an example of what
so
would not
woman
be?
A, the heinous woman, I can pick between her, I can pick between this golden goddess who's fucking fantastic, except I have to bow to her, but everything else stays the same.
What would everything
Well,
else?
there's no condition, like the world isn't flat in this scenario, there's still in outer space, there's still stars in the sky, there's nothing, everything else external to this stays the same.
I know you're trying to do something, Andrew, but sure.
Okay, well then great, then I'll take the heinous bitch and divorce her.
Andrew, you trickster, you. First off...
I asked, bro, I asked.
Hold on, Andrew.
I asked, bro, I did.
Now, this is a perfect example of your bamboozling trickery here, Andrew. Let me, oh my goodness. You can't, there's no divorce. Andrew,
okay. Now so then all things aren't equal. Okay, so okay.
Hold on, Andrew. It's implied. It is implied.
It's not implied.
That's implied. You let me do a loophole. Can I divorce her? No, you got to pick one, dude. You got to pick one.
I told you who I would pick, and I told you why I would pick her.
Because you could divorce her?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, wait, hold on. Just curious. I'll engage with that a little bit, but I'm not going to let you get away from this, Andrew. So, okay, Andrew. Sorry, ladies. But you have to consummate the marriage
Yeah, then I'd consummate the marriage and then divorce
That's
her.
this, Andrew. I can't. But you would have carnal knowledge of an obese feminine.
Yeah, that's
the Crucible. The Crucible. Clip it and chip it. Andrew will have carnal knowledge of an obese, pink-haired feminist who smells.
I'm sorry.
Clip it and
Wait a
chip
second.
it.
That's not what you said. You said consummate.
Isn't that? You know what I
Well,
mean?
no, sir. The night of your wedding, if you can't get it up, you are still consummating that marriage.
Okay. You know what? You have
I tried to give you all these conditionals that you could have changed,
Andrew,
you know?
You're being a little. You're
You
being a
said
little trickster.
consummate, Brian, not have to have sex with.
Let me just Google consummate. Hold on, you trickster.
consummate.
Let me just make sure consummate. Andrew, you little trickster. Okay, I Googled this. Make a marriage or relationship complete by having sexual intercourse.
And then go to definition 2.
You know
go
what?
To definition 2.
No, because I'm happy with definition 1. And I'm
Yeah, no, go to definition 2.
No, Andrew, no. This is the agreed upon definition of this word.
Well, there's multiple agreed upon definitions of the word, which is why there's multiple definitions, Brian.
This is the accepted definition by the broader public.
It's one definition, yes. Well,
Yes,
okay, well, then,
and this
Brian,
was the
are you
definition
saying that
I was
you
using.
can never get married to a woman if you can't get it up?
Andrew, I use
How
the
do you
word
consummate such a marriage if you can't get it up?
No, but make complete by having sexual intercourse. So
Sure, but how? But wait a second. So you're saying that any marriage where the guy can't get it up,
This guy.
it's not consummated?
According to definition 1, technically, if you don't have sexual technically, according to this definition, that is correct. It would not be consummated. If you have a different definition, that's fine. But I'm using definition 1.
Well, and I'm going to go with definition 1. I'm going to grant definition 1
Grant
in
it.
its entirety.
Grant it.
What is sexual intercourse? Does that mean vaginal penetration?
Andrew, do I need to bring you back to health class here? Yes.
Well, it means vaginal penetration.
For the purposes of Andrew, you're being a little shifty.
I want to make
You're
sure.
evading.
If it's vaginal penetration, I'll just grant it, Brian.
Can we stop with the pedantry?
Okay. You know what?
You're being pedantic.
I'm just going to say it's vaginal penetration. Well, then, entailed in your scenario,
Just the
this
tip?
woman, we would never be able to consummate our marriage because I would never be able to get it up. Therefore, we could
just
never
a
get
second.
married.
Just a
I'm
second.
trying to give you all the bones in the world here, Brian.
But hold on. Viagra, sildenafil. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're forced. You get forced Viagra, Andrew.
Yeah, but so this is why it's very important that we get into the details. Does the man have to ejaculate for it to be consummated?
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't have to ejaculate?
According to the definition.
So basically, I just have to sit there while this beach whale rides me, and then I never have to bow to a bitch the rest of my life? Yeah, I'm fucking taking that deal and divorcing that chick the next day.
But you don't get another woman.
I'm still divorcing that chick the next day, and I'm going to become a monk.
How about you can't divorce her and you gotta smash once a week?
Wait, so I have to have sex with this chick once a week?
Yeah.
Like, so under the hypothetical, right? I just want to make sure I get this right. Either I bow to a woman, or I have to be with the most heinous whale person who's ever existed, and be put on Viagra and have sex with her once a week. Now, hang on. I just want to make sure. Remember, I told you earlier we were talking. I said, does any of this have to do with coercion? And if there's coercion, I'll always say yes. Brian, how the fuck is this not coercion, sir?
You might have got me there, but
Yeah, that's coercion. So yes, under coercion, under absolute coercion, yes.
tell you what,
but that's
Andrew,
total
let's change
coercion.
It. Change it. Let's change it a little bit. Okay, Andrew. So you don't have to have sex with her, but that's your wife, and you can't divorce her, and you have to stay with her. And,
Okay. Got
or-
it. And all conditions stay the same.
Andrew, Andrew.
I just want to make sure all conditionals stay the same. All external conditionals stay the same.
Look, I get it. You want a fat feminist. I get it, dude. I fucking get it, dude. But go
Well,
ahead.
hang on. If all conditionals stay the same, then I would still take her, and then I would go to a different country, and then I would come back without her.
Different country. Mm-hmm. I mean,
She would get lost in the jungle, you know?
you'd murder her.
No, I didn't say that.
Oh. I mean, what?
I'm sorry, Brian. Am I willing to do something bad when I'm forced by a genie to marry a fat, heinous feminist who I have to am forced to have sex with every week? Oh, Andrew, you would do something about that? Oh, what a terrible guy.
First off, to be fair, to be charitable, you wouldn't have to go to another country. You could just go for a walk in the woods in Michigan. Okay, it's not.
I didn't say. The reason I would go to another country is because I would renounce my U.S. citizenship and then divorce her in that country. That's why, as if all things would be equal, Brian.
Andrew, this is so bad faith. It's so bad faith.
So bad faith.
So bad faith. Okay, so last question, and the girls are. I gotta get the girls back. Okay.
Well, we gave him a nice break anyway.
Yeah, they've had a chance to recharge here. Okay, final question. So the choice is between these two women. You can't bring the woman into the jungle or the swamp or whatever. I don't know. You got to stay with them. You got to stay with them. You can never find another woman, even if I give you the whole divorce thing, whatever. You can't get another woman, and this is assuming you don't have kids. Almost perfect. The woman I described previously, or the woman.
Yeah, I'm taking the woman and that I can get the divorce from. I'm not bowing my head to a woman.
And then that's the end of your bloodline?
Yeah, even if it meant for all future men that they could always take a look at this one stupid asshole from Michigan who took the worst deal possible and made sure he would not fall on his own sword so that he would not have to bow to a woman. And all men took their lead from that forevermore. I would take that deal, yes.
You know, Andrew, do you remember earlier on in the conversation when the women over here were saying, I'm going to be better looking when I'm 70? Andrew, that's you.
I'm going to be better looking when I'm 70?
No, that the level of delusion, I'm sorry, you sound, that's ridiculous, Andrew.
Just Gerald
I think it's
donated
ridiculous.
$100.
All right.
This intermission was brought to you by Debate University. Become a master debater today.
Yeah, let's pull it up. All right, guys.
Hang on, Brian. I'm dying a hero, Brian. I'm dying a hero. I'm not bowing the head to no fucking, I'm not doing it. I'm not ever going to bow my head to a woman. You know what? I've gone 40 years without bowing my fucking head to a woman. And no matter how many genie bottles you come up with, I'm going to find the flaw in that contract. I ain't bowing my fucking head to one now.
All right. Hey, look, it is what it is. If you guys if you want to learn how to become a master debater, you guys have to go to debateuniversity.com. It's a course by Andrew Wilson, verbal combat. Look, I know that, it's a good course. It's a good course, 80 plus videos, 6+ hours of content. If you want to learn how to become a master debater like Andrew, how you just saw him master debate, he master debated all over the place. You got to get the course. It's at debateuniversity.com.
Now, hang on. You can tell that Brian has also taken a course in master debating, as he has been master debating better than I've ever seen him master debate this fine evening on whatever. So I must admit, you have really improved in your master debating skills, sir.
Thank you. I'm a journeyman master debater, but I'm hoping to one day get to like artisan level master debating. So thank you, Andrew. It's a lot of credit to you, because. All right, let's get back.
I guess we got to get back to the show.
Yeah. Can we open the door a little bit? I'm getting a little sweaty here. It ain't easy going up against the king. If you're gonna what's that saying? Like if you're gonna step to the king, you gotta have your what's that? Come on, somebody.
We don't
please.
know.
Damn, bro. The thing about if you're gonna scuffed, just hide it in OBS. Hide in OBS. StreamYard. No, bro. Sources. Scroll up. Okay, you can fix it now. Okay. Sorry, guys, we had a little technical glitch there. Okay. Would you bow to a man?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
Bruh, it's crazy, dude. It's crazy. You know what's crazy? Wait, I have a question for you. You will work a job, right?
Yes.
So, if your boss tells you 5 times a week, I want you to commute 30 hours in a car, and then come to work and show up at 8 a.m., will you do it?
So for me personally, I want to be an entrepreneur, so that wouldn't really work with me.
You don't have a job right now?
No.
Can you envision yourself in some scenario where you would end up having a traditional job?
I can envision it.
Okay. Do you realize most people will have a job where they have a boss?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, here, maybe I should ask somebody else. Anybody here have a job? You got a job?
Yeah.
What's your job?
Optometrist assistant.
Okay. You got a job?
Yes, I do.
You're a server, right?
Yes, I'm a server.
Oh, okay. And you work full-time?
Yeah, for restaurants, yes.
Mm-hmm. And then your boss says, show up at this time, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Mm. He says, show up at times that maybe you don't prefer, right?
Yeah.
Early in the morning? Well, you're a server.
No, I'm a server. I'm doing evenings, but I know what you mean.
Can I ask the panel question? What's the earliest a boss has ever told you, I need you here at this time? What's the earliest ever?
6 o'clock in the morning.
6 a.m.?
5:30.
5:30 a.m.?
3 a.m.
3 a.m. Okay. And if your boss says, hey, move that over there. Has a boss done that to you before?
Yeah.
Hey, I need to move that. Put it over there. Can you move that? Has that?
Like if she requests me to do something.
Hey, can you move this over here? Maybe they'd say it more politely, but they ask you to do it, right? Do you do it?
Yes.
And you, any other undesirable tasks that the boss has asked you to do?
Is this to me? Or to anyone?
I thought.
How about everything that you do for work is something you otherwise wouldn't do, but you're being given money to do it? Pretty much, right?
Yeah. That's why we work. Unless you have a job that you love.
So, I guess to wrap up the submissive conversation, I know we've lingered on it for a while, but so women were submissive to their husbands, but you've now traded this to be submissive to an employer. And I would argue that employer is going to ask much more of you than your husband ever will. Thoughts?
I think, well, I mean, the big difference is like the relationship, or relationships in general are personal, and the job for me is not personal. You know what I mean? If like my boss asks me something, I don't know, even if my boss yells at me, I don't like, you know what I mean? It's a different, like a relationship is different. The intimacy
Sure.
is different. You know what I
It
mean?
is.
So like the implication is different. Like what my boyfriend's going to tell me is going to affect me way more than what my boss tells
Can I
me.
ask you a question? So you said you would not bow for your perfect man, correct? And your perfect man, would he be a billionaire?
No.
Oh, trillionaire, I'm sorry.
So are you asking for my ideal perfect
No,
man?
yeah, your perfect man. Would he be a trillionaire?
No.
Why not?
My definition of perfect isn't about what's on the outside. It's not surface level.
So just to be clear, you would not desire to date a trillionaire?
So what are you, I feel that everyone's definition of perfect is very different. I mean, if I could ask for everything, sure, I would enjoy for him to have some money, but it wouldn't be like, I don't need that much. It's not perfect to me.
I would do a lot more than bow to marry a trillionaire, but okay. Do you realize the amount, like,
Wait, what else would you do?
oh, Andrew, let's not start.
Wait, what else would you do to marry a trillionaire besides just bow, Brian?
Andrew, I will. Do you realize that's like 1,000-year dynasty? That kind of generational wealth. That it. Give me the fucking apron, bro. You want me to cook? I'm fucking cooking. Andrew, we talked about this. Remember, like a couple weeks ago. I think didn't we
I know,
say?
I've never no such conversations.
No, I think you even said, oh yeah, if I could marry a woman who's a billionaire, I would.
It's gaslighting.
No, you said it. You said it.
Gaslighting.
You said, dude.
Total gaslighting. Very feminine. Brian trying to gaslight me into previous
Yeah,
conversations
chat,
that
find a clip.
supposedly happened weeks ago. They have zero evidence of. But okay, Brian, that's fine.
That's not a woman thing. That's men do that a lot. Gaslighting. Everybody
Men
does
don't gaslight. Come on.
it. I didn't say that. I said everybody does it. Men
Okay,
do
anyways,
it too.
I'm getting off topic here, but okay, so trillionaire, not perfect. He would have all the other traits that would make him perfect, right?
Okay.
Okay, so he says, hey, I'm a trillionaire. You don't need to do this tarot card reading bullshit. I want you to stay at home and you don't have to worry about anything. I'll pay for everything. Everything will be taken care of.
So my perfect man would respect that I have a passion or a hobby and would actually want to support me on creating a business for myself.
He has, what's the purpose of a business?
Some people enjoy.
Hold on, no, hold on. What's the purpose of a business?
For making money?
To make money, right? Okay. He has $1 trillion.
Right.
You don't need to make money.
My objective is not to make money if I'm passionate about something.
You're passionate about tarot card
Yes.
reading and selling it. Can't you
My
do tarot
readings?
card? So, but here's the trade-off. You don't get to do your tarot card thing, and you get to marry a billionaire who's perfect.
That's kind of like almost sacrificing my own wants and needs just for a perfect relationship, which we clearly differ from what we want.
Wait, can I ask you a question? If I paid you $1 million right now to shave your head, would you do it?
No.
Oh my God. $1 billion, would you do it?
Sure, yes.
But not for $1 million.
Okay, I actually
Oh, boy.
reacted a little bit, so yes, I would do it for $1 million.
For $1,000.
$1,000, I would not.
No, 1,000.
$1 million?
Yeah.
I mean, I said I accidentally, reacted too quick, so I
Okay,
would.
she'll do it for $1 million. Okay, I don't know. I was just curious. I've always been curious about that. Any girl who would not shave their head for $1 million?
What?
I mean, it'll grow back within a few years, and you can get a
buy a
wig.
wig.
You can get a really nice wig. I mean, I can't imagine like anyone who's intelligent, assuming like, look, if you were a billionaire, maybe I could see like, I'm not going to take the million, or you have, I don't know, 10, 20, $30 million. Why would you not take the million?
I take it. I don't.
You wouldn't, and then Emma wouldn't.
I'd shave
I
my
think.
head. I mean,
All right, get the razor.
She's like she is, Brian. I'm a troll, but I'm a smart troll. Go get the razor blade.
Get the razor. Okay. So you wouldn't give up the tarot card thing for a trillionaire who's perfect?
But how would that be perfect to me if that's not the ideal kind of life that I want?
It's like a hypothetical. So it's like, would you? They're the best person, but there's this one downside.
It's not just like a little downside for me because it's something that consists of my entire life almost. It's my passion. It's a part of my spirituality. It's something that I want to constantly learn more about. So for me to just give that up because someone wants me to is it's a big sacrifice.
I thought you were. Are you religious at all, or just
Yes,
spirit?
I am religious.
Which religion?
Christian.
Oh, Andrew's gonna love this. One sec, Andrew.
Okay, so we can really get into this, but
so hold on. So you're Christian. What denomination?
Well, I'm still kind of figuring that out for myself because I have went through some sort of religious trauma and I've developed a more closer connection.
Religious trauma. Well, I'll let Andrew jump in here in just a sec. But so you're Christian. You claim to be a submissive woman. Wouldn't the submissive thing be if your ultra wealthy husband said, "I don't want you," and he's Christian, and he's like, "Well, I believe you practicing tarot cards is, I don't know the specific word. It's is it a blasphemy or is it like a what is it, Andrew? It's not like kosher or not copacetic.
It's a heresy.
Heresy, thank you. He's like, that's heretical. You're a Christian, I'm a Christian. I'm also a trillionaire. I don't want you practicing tarot cards anymore. Do you do it?
For me, okay, so my relationship with God is much more important than my relationship with my husband, who's a trillionaire. So for him to, I guess, make that or try to put that belief onto me is...
Tarot cards. The hill you die on is tarot cards.
It's not even about just the tarot cards. I also have a sense of my own pride.
Wait, sorry. Andrew, before I know you want... Wait, what the fuck? What happened here with the... Oh, okay, that's fine. I have a question for you. Would you want your boyfriend or husband to take a bullet for you?
Look at that.
Just hide it.
I mean, I would do it for him, so maybe yes. Like my husband,
Can you close
yes.
the door? You'd want him to take a bullet for you?
Yes.
Bro, these girls literally want you to die and provide for them, but they won't bow. They won't give up some heresy. They won't give up tarot cards. She wants her husband to take a bullet for her, but she won't give up her tarot cards. Make it make sense. I got to take a smoke break. Go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, I just wonder if you can help me out with a couple of things. So I'm not gonna beat you up. I understand. Yeah, I was just gonna ask you a couple of quick questions. I understand that you could be quite new to your faith. Is that what's going on?
Sorry, what did you say?
Are you new to your faith?
I wouldn't say.
It's Emma. It's Emma, right?
Irene.
Is that your name? What's that?
Irene.
Irene. Okay, sorry. You're new to your faith, Irene?
I'm rediscovering it.
Okay, gotcha. Just so you know, in tarot, I just want to ask you just a quick question. Do you use tarot to figure out kind of future events or current events?
No, I do not. Or current events, in a sense, yes, but I never use it to predict the future. I don't do any predictive readings. It's much more of a tool to kind of get the general idea of what's going on.
And do you have a spirit guide?
Well, I wouldn't say a specific spirit guide. I do pray to God before I start my tarot readings.
Yeah, and when you're looking at tarot cards for current events, do the tarot cards ever lead you in such a way where you know what current events are, or give you some type of insight into them?
Yes.
Okay. Leviticus 19:26, do not practice divination or seek omens. You're doing both. Hang on, you're doing both things. You're seeking omens and practicing divination. Divination would just be trying to figure out currently what is going on through some type of externality, which is other than God. That would be divination, and then omens would be the exact same thing, right? You're looking at the cards for omens of what will happen or has happened or is happening.
So I have done a lot of research on this because of a lot of people who have a lot of controversial opinions when it comes to tarot. And my argument is that when people have maybe like Christian people wouldn't call it mediumship abilities, but gift from God and ability to see more than, I guess, like other people who may not be considered, I wouldn't say like I'm chosen or anything, but there are those kinds of people within the Bible. So would that be considered the same thing or not? Like to be able to use your gift that was given to you by
There's
God.
a distinct difference between revelation and utilizing tarot cards, which would be external to God's revelation, right?
It's because it's a tool?
Yeah, well, what tools are... Let me ask you something. Where do you get the idea for what divine authority is? What is that to you? Is that just God?
To me, divine authority is belief in a higher power and having faith in a higher source.
Okay, for you, is that Jesus Christ?
Yes.
Okay, and so you are beholden to Christ's word, and you believe that Christ is God, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if Christ is God, you have to admit that this is the God of the Old Testament as well as the New Testament, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so if that is the case, Leviticus 20:27, a man or a woman who is a medium or a necromancer shall surely be put to death. They shall be stoned with stones. Their blood shall be upon them. Does it sound like they want to see any divination, witchcraft, anything like that?
Okay, so I have read that verse many times, and it's just a bit hypocritical and ironic when a lot of people are able to just pick and choose which verses that they want to use to be able to judge other people, but there are many Bible verses that mention how no one should be able to judge anyone but God. So I just feel it's...
Which ones?
Well, I can't, honestly, I don't have it at the top of my head. But there
Yeah, do you know what? The Bible actually instructs you the opposite way, that you're supposed to use righteous judgment, especially as a Christian, so that you can judge the fruits of what is a thing, right? Mm-hmm. How else would you know what is evil if you couldn't use judgment? How could you even know? Like, how would you know what to stay away from and what was evil, what was bad if you couldn't use judgment?
Okay, that's a good point, but I also don't think it's up to people to decide what is righteous. It's almost like having that belief.
No, then who is it up to?
God.
And then what did God instruct you not to do?
I don't really want to argue about this because this is something that I'm still rediscovering within myself. And of course, I knew that there are going to be many people who pull Bible verses to come against me and my practice. But I mean, that is what I believe. And I don't think there's much up for argument there.
So even if you were wrong, you believe it anyway?
I can't say that I'm wrong, though.
Okay, well, how do you know you're right?
I'm not saying I'm right either. And that's why I'm telling you that I'm rediscovering this part of me with my connection.
Well, who would you go to determine if you were wrong or right when it came to spiritual matters?
God.
You're going to go to God, and does God talk to you?
I just pray to God I'm able to get more clarification that way, and if I do seek a mentor, then I will, a trusted mentor that I truly believe they have a really good connection to God as well. But
how do you know that you don't suffer from affirmation bias, where even though tons of people have told you that this is not Christianity, that you just choose not to believe them because you don't want to believe them? How do you know that that's not the case?
I've gone through a lot of spiritual warfare, debating between if this is right or wrong. I've prayed many times about it. I truly believe that God does give gifts to people. I'm not saying oh wow, I have the ultimate gift here, but there are many people who have gifts from God, and my question is, what would make it wrong for them to use that gift?
Nothing. Yeah, nothing would make it wrong for them to use a gift from God. But we are specifically instructed as what is and is not gifts from God. Tarot cards are not gifts from God, right? We are instructed in this in Leviticus, but also even in the New Testament, we're instructed in this multiple times by Christ's apostles. So I'm not saying there's anything wrong with any gifts from God. Why would I ever say that? I'm just telling you that we have 2,000 years of Christian history of every single saint who exists explaining that this is not the thing that you should ever gravitate towards, and even Protestants know that this is so. And why is it that you have decided you figured it out and all of them were wrong?
And I've been constantly telling you that I am still rediscovering this, and so
what does that mean, though, rediscovering it? When somebody corrects you, you don't take correction? Or how do you rediscover a thing if people who do the thing tell you this is the wrong thing and you go, well, okay, but let me rediscover it? What does that mean, rediscovery? What does that even mean?
Just like you mentioned about having the righteous judgment, everyone should have their own free thought, so I'm not going to just allow for people to correct me and just go based on that.
Well, then who's allowed to correct you? Whoever you think is correcting you based on your affirmation bias or confirmation bias? Who's allowed to correct you? Who's the person who's allowed to tell you, okay, what you're doing here is wrong and here's all the proof? Who's the person who's allowed to do that? Just you? Are you the ultimate arbiter of what is Christian and what is not? Who is?
I think the whole journey of spirituality and finding your religion.
Not a journey. Yeah. Everything's a fucking journey.
It's about you finding the impartial opinion yourself, finding these things and allowing yourself to almost formulate your own free thought in relation to your connection to God. But I don't think that...
How do you know it's not a demon? How do you know that? How do you know you're not talking to a demon? How do you know it's not a demon who's chatting with you?
I don't think a demon would be the one who leads me back to my faith in Christianity.
Really? Why not? Especially if you're, let's assume for a second that you were utilizing such a bastardized form of Christianity that you could not separate it from modern Satanism and you just called it Christianity. Wouldn't a great deceiver convince you that a thing which was not Christianity was Christianity? So how do you know that it's not a deceiver?
I'm still figuring that out right now.
Oh, okay. All right, well, I'll turn it over to Brian.
All right. Oh, two last things on the whole submissive conversation. We have a video to react to, but before we do that, I guess the point I was trying to make by asking you guys about, what would you do for an employer? It's like the same girl who will work a brutal fast food job, dealing with a boss, barking orders, cleaning dirty dishes, the bathroom, shitty customers for like $15 an hour. But like, say a good guy comes into the picture who has the money to support her family and make sure she never has to work a day in her life again. She doesn't want to bow. She doesn't want to cook. She doesn't want to clean, whatever it is. It's just confusing to me because it's like your husband's going to ask way less of you than your employer. You'll do all the cleaning, the cooking. An employer will ask you to do that if you're in like food service or something. A lot of women have experience, in food, waitressing or whatever it is. You'll do it for an employer, but you won't do it for your husband. And that's very confusing to me. Or take it further, if it's, if we're not talking about like a job that's a bit more physical, you'll be submissive to your employer that's a cold corporation, your boss, but you won't be submissive to a man who loves you and who you love back. I don't know. It's confusing to me. And the silence would indicate to me that I don't know if you guys agree. Like you've come to this realization that you've all submitted to the faceless corporation. You go work for Facebook or Google or whatever, they compensate you well, but at the end of the day, they tell you, be here at this time, do this, do that, sit in a chair, be good and obedient. If you don't, you lose the job, you get fired. You've traded your submission to men for the cold, heartless corporation. It's an interesting trade.
Yeah, but the comparison is like, your comparison is like, if you're with a man, well, that is your comparison, or you're with a man that makes you not have to work. That wasn't initially what you said. You just said, the question was just, would you bow to your men?
Sure. Well, I added
like,
some extra details here.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Now it's changed. Now you're like, if you don't have to. And by the way, through this conversation, I'm like, I don't know. I kind of changed my mind about the bow. I think.
Oh, you're against the bow now?
No. I was against it, and now I'm like, maybe it's not. Like maybe as a sign of, like maybe it's not as bad as I thought it was initially. Because
I always just think from my perspective, right? It's like, so okay, let's say there's a guy, or I mean, I'll even like my own perspective. Like if I'm making $2 million, $3 million a year, and I want to date a submissive girl, and you could be my life partner, and I'll take care of everything. You never have to work a day in your life.
Yeah.
You just got to take care of me. And in fact, by helping me, you'll help me earn more money by taking some of the pressure off my life.
Yeah.
So by freeing up time for me, I'm going to go out there and earn, just because of you, because you're in my life, I'll go earn an extra $500,000 a year because you're making my life easier, and that enables me to work more and earn more.
Yeah, I get that.
But you can do that as a woman, and I can come in your life and totally change it, or you can work for $70K a year,
yeah, but
9 to 5,
yeah, it depends.
be here at this time, wake up at this time.
But I mean, if that means, if like the money, whatever, first of all, like personally, my value is not necessarily a super, super rich guy, but yeah, I would be happy to have. But like my criteria is like, if the guy's a dick and then he makes a lot of money, then I wouldn't want to submit. But if like, what I need is a connection, and what I need is like, I also need respect, but I also need to be able to be myself, to be authentic, and to do things that I love. If I'm not able to do the things that I love, like play music or the thing that I love, really, that fills my soul, then what's the point of me being in a relationship if I can't be myself and do things that I love, and vice versa? Also, I think you shouldn't have to choose.
Music. What?
That's what I mean. No, because you said give up tarot, whatever.
Well, she does it for a profession to make money. So
but she loves doing it.
So, for example, she could have a day. She could work a full work week where she's got 10 new clients a day, and she's doing a tarot reading for 10, 20 people a day, and that's a full-time job.
Yeah, I didn't understand it as a job. I understood it just a hobby.
Yeah.
Like so she had to not do things that she loves. That's the only way I understood it.
I'm just thinking, like, if you could be involved with a guy that he makes $1 million a year, and you can be with him, or you can make $100,000 a year and be on your own, I don't know.
Well, there's just so many more elements. It's
Sure.
That's why it's like, you just tell me like a guy that's super rich and I don't have to. Sure, I would love that. I think who wouldn't want to not have to work?
I would actually always want to work.
Really?
Life without work, there's no challenge, it's boring. I personally think people who are like stay-at-home
Well,
moms,
we'll give you 10 years in the workworkforce.
they're really
and we'll see if you
strong. I
change
could
your
not do
mind.
that.
Wait, you go ahead, finish your point. Go ahead.
I was saying that I would always want to work because I feel like I would just feel empty that I'm not pursuing something that I love.
Do you want kids?
I am still kind of debating on that.
Well, let's leave that for a second. How old did you say you were?
22.
Yeah, give it a decade, and then we'll see if you want to work or not. Give it a decade.
Some people enjoy
Give it a
working.
decade when you're working and you're grinding for 10 hours plus a day at your job, and then we'll see if you want to keep working.
Do you think there's guys who genuinely enjoy working? Like men?
Yes.
Do you think men
Yes.
Why don't
I
you
think that most men are hardwired for it, and they absolutely enjoy it.
So you
but
think-
they don't have to go into the conflict that women do, the biological conflict of wanting to have a family and childbearing and nesting. Men don't have the same conflict. Women do.
Even
And the
if-
other thing is that even though I know men absolutely love to work, right? I think that they absolutely would love to work on their passion projects even more than working at a job for a boss. So if you were to say, okay, man, you're liberated with $5 million to pursue X, I think that they would choose that very quickly.
Okay, but personally, I think like even if I would want to have a child, you can childbear and then you go back to work if you really truly enjoy it. Some women, you think there's not a single woman in this world who really doesn't enjoy working?
No, I would never say that there's not a single. I would never group anything in a monolith. I would say that that most women, the majority, the vast majority of women, if given the choice not to work or to work, would choose not to work.
Perhaps the majority.
And I don't think that that's true of men. I think that men would still choose to work, maybe not jobby jobs, but they would still choose to work. But I don't think most women would choose to work. And this bears out when you ask them if they would prefer to work or not work if they did not have to. Most of them say that they would prefer not to.
So do you think, because I always struggle to understand that, because for me, I am, like you say, men are hardwired to want to work. I think that is true for a majority, but for me as someone who I could not see myself just not doing anything, I constantly have to be on the go and go.
I think we're speaking past each other, so maybe we can clarify some things. It wouldn't be that you aren't doing anything. But let me ask you a question. Let's take a girl who works at Subway, and she says, I want to work, right?
Okay.
What the hell is the difference between her making a Subway sandwich for a customer and making a sandwich for her husband? I have never really understood that, you know what I mean? They're both work. It's just like, why would you want to go work for strangers instead of working for your family? I've never really understood that.
Well,
it just seems illogical and nonsensical to me.
I do understand that example. I think it just depends on occupation. Like for me, as someone who I wanted to be a lawyer, that's completely different. If you're, you know what I mean? If I would to be a submissive woman, that would, my lawyer skills or my debating skills or problem solving would not be helpful at all when, if I'm trying to be a submissive woman.
Yeah, they would be extremely helpful. So you know why we need really smart women raising children? It's because I don't want really dumb women raising children. So all those women who have the capacity to be really, really good lawyers and doctors and things like this, who have those really high IQs, I'd rather see them at home teaching their children. That's where I'd rather see them for the next generation to turn out all of those great I want those women having babies. And I want them nurturing those babies and making the next high IQ generation, right? I don't want them wasted away in a cubicle. That seems silly to me.
But that's not a wasting away in their cubicle for them, if that's what they truly love to do. I do understand. I mean, if you're someone who wants to have kids, if you're a woman who wants to work a high occupation job and have kids, then for sure you got to make some sacrifices at some point of the child's life when you're working that position. But again, it is possible, and I don't think you should put away your passion to raise a kid because
If you want to work, if that's what you feel like you're compelled to do, and you don't actually want to do anything but that, fine. Nobody's saying that you can't do that, right? You can, and you have every right to. Mm-hmm. But for the vast majority of women, the conflict does not come between I want to work or do not want to work. It comes between I have to work, but I'd rather have a family. That's the real conflict which comes up because we value education over family. That's what we do. That's why women get married in their 30s now, because they want to have this social safety net, right? The safety net of something to fall back on. So the big conflict really doesn't come into play between women who just demand to be at work because they want to be there all day, but rather that they have to work because people have to work in modernity in order to make ends meet, right? But let me ask you this, now that I've kind of given you my view on this, do you think that if you went down the street and asked women, would you prefer to spend the rest of your life working, or would you prefer early on to be able to settle down with a man who could provide for you that you loved? Which answer do you think they'd give?
I mean, most likely they would want to have a family and settle down. But
right.
But all I'm saying is that
that's my whole point, right? And so, like, I would prefer a society where we made that easier for them to do that, rather than a society which valued sending our best and brightest women not to carry the future generation of children, which only they could do, but rather to slave the workforce underneath a boss. That just seems insane to me.
Right. So everything is about the choice. I just think that there shouldn't be that much societal pressure to have kids if you don't want to. You know what I mean?
Why? Why shouldn't there be so much societal pressure instead to value going to college, for instance, where useless degrees are handed out like they're candy? In fact, it's so bad, the standards have gotten so low that anybody can do it. College can't be about rewarding the best and the brightest, or everybody couldn't get through college, but they can. And so the standards have necessarily lowered in order to appeal to the lowest common denominator. A high school diploma is the equivalency of a high school education just 70 years ago. So it's like, why shouldn't there be national propaganda around a nuclear family and having children instead of national propaganda and wasting your youth and your childbearing years going and getting a worthless degree that almost nobody ever uses? I'd like to know the answer to that question.
Because if you know that your true passion is being in this whatever occupation job that is, and then you have a society pressuring you to have a kid, and you feel like, oh, I have to do this, I have to sacrifice this, you're always going to regret not pursuing what you want to do, and that kid is going to know that you didn't do what you wanted to do. And that's
So what? So what? Well, I mean, what do you think sacrifice is about, patriotism? Do you think that men who get drafted and have to go to war, right? That they don't look back and go, oh, I could have done X and I could have done Y and I could have done Z. There is such a thing as patriotism. There is such a thing in a nation as sacrifice for the nation. Why is this idea that everybody must endlessly pursue endless hedonism the best way instead of people pursuing what the greater good for the actual nation is? That seems way wiser to me. If you're gonna propagandize an entire country, why not propagandize them towards procreation and having nuclear families and things which are really good for the health of the nation? Why not do that?
So you're reading that as a grand scheme of things instead of in a particular family, because sometimes there are women and men who have kids and don't pursue something they wanted to do, and that affects the family, and that causes a generational trauma. Because
every human being on planet Earth has some pursuance that they weren't able to do. The whole world is filled with failed rock stars and failed artists and failed, professionals of all kinds who chased a dream that they were not able to achieve. I mean, most people have some regret of something they weren't able to do. And this kind of idea of that because people have kind of unachievable goals, that we shouldn't kind of move society towards these achievable things, which most people can do, which have proven time and time again to increase the happiness levels of almost everybody around. That still seems way better to me.
Okay, so you think for the greater good, it is important to pursue something that you don't want, even if that's going to make you and your family miserable. Possible.
Well, so this is loaded. Recognize how you said this, right? If it necessarily was going to make people's families miserable, how could it be for the greater good? That makes no sense. So if it was for the greater good, the most amount of people would find it useful, and the most amount of people would find this to be something which they would want to pursue. Or it couldn't be for the greater good, right? It couldn't be.
I'm speaking of
how could it? You know what I mean?
I mean, you were speaking about greater good, and the way I understood, you were speaking about the nation and perhaps even the world, how it would work better in the world. But then there are going to be those really unhappy families who just did this because that was the societal pressure. I mean, that's always going to be the case. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but we're not going to. You would never in a million years, for instance, you would never say that there are going to be some people on planet Earth who perform better when they're doing drugs. There's going to be some people who do. You would never say everybody should be able to do drugs because some people who do drugs perform better than others and have regrets they never did drugs. Does that even make sense? Would you ever say that in a million years?
Of course not. Of course
not.
But I don't think drugs would affect anyone positively, to be honest with you.
No, wait a second. Caffeine doesn't affect people. Hang on, wait, hang on. Caffeine and sugar doesn't affect people positively?
Oh, that's what I was about to say, unless you're talking about those things and like...
You mean drugs?
Like, do you mean something that was prescripted, or just you're going to go...
Even prescriptive as well. There's all sorts of, like, for instance, you think narcotics, like painkillers, which are highly addictive, aren't highly useful to society? Of course they are. And so, like, this idea that, wait a second, because some people would have preferred to have been on those drugs, that we can't regulate or propagandize against them, that's insanity. It's the same thing at the national level. This idea of endless hedonism and individualism with absolutely no thought to the greater society at whole is pure female solipsism. Men seem to understand this very well, and the men I talk to go, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We probably should move towards those things. When you look at voting patterns, that's what those things move to. Patriotism, nuclear family, anti-degeneracy, that's what men vote for. Women vote purely around solipsism and let me do what I want, which is just crazy to me.
If everyone understands that this is the optimal option, why do you think, especially in this day and age, there's so many people who disagree with that?
Okay, I'm going to give you the answer, and you're not going to like it. For one reason only, because of women's suffrage. Women's suffrage absolutely destroyed the United States of America, and women's voting patterns prove it. And the truth of the matter is that women vote mostly against risk-taking. And because they vote mostly against risk-taking, they impede on people's freedoms. And so individual people, men especially, who had the opportunity to vote out illegal immigration, keep the country exactly how they wanted it to be, that was all completely destroyed by female suffrage. If only men had been able to vote in the United States of America, right now, the United States of America would be beyond the glorious shining example on the hill. It would be beyond that. And the voting patterns prove it. Every single time it's a vote for security over the freedom to actually pursue these higher values, women vote against it almost every single time.
Okay.
And that's what I think. I think that that's the primary problem. The primary problem is that the two sexes do not see eye to eye on what is valuable. And this is why I think that one's going to have to inevitably choose, and it'll always move back that way. That all of this, what you see before you right now with egalitarianism, this will all reset eventually, and it'll just go back to primitivism. Men will be in charge anyway.
Andrew, you're going to get canceled if you're talking like that, Andrew. You got to be careful. You're going to get canceled, my friend.
I don't think so. I've never actually, you know who knows this better than anybody? Feminist theorists know this better than anybody else. Feminists are the ones who came up with force doctrine. I just borrowed it from them. They were the ones who understood that men at any time collectively could take charge and there was very little women could do. Feminists theorized all of this. They knew all of this years and years before I was ever born, hundreds of years before I was born, in fact. Almost 200 years before, in fact. It's their own writings that I go off of. The feminists insisted that women had the right to vote. But when it came to women voting for the right to vote, they wouldn't let them do it because every time women had the opportunity to vote on their own voting rights, they voted against it. Every single time.
I do have to move things on. We've been on this for a bit, but we do have the video and then a couple reactions. Austin, we'll do the video first. The video I sent you private chat, I think last week.
So I want guidance. I got away with everything under the last boss, and it wasn't good for me at all. So I want guidance. I want leadership. But don't just boss me around, Like lead me. Lead me when I'm in the mood to be led.
Does that resonate with any of you? So he's talking in the workplace, but this is what I see when women say they want a masculine man, dominant man, a man who's a leader, who has leadership characteristics, who takes initiative. You want all these traits, but you want to pick and choose. You want the man to be able to turn that shit on with a light switch. You only want him to be a leader in some contexts. In other contexts, you want him to be a good, submissive boy, pat him on the head. Good boy. Just interesting.
Yeah, I don't think anything is black or white generally. Things very nuanced. Well, it's true. If you want to talk about things like that, relationships, it just isn't. It isn't. It's like
no, but it's not.
It's two humans. They're very complex. No, it doesn't have to be just one way or just the other way. You have two people. It's very complex. And first of all, I think that you have masculinity and femininity, let's say, and everyone's kind of there on the spectrum, kind of, right? So everyone's gonna find someone that's complementary to them.
No, but if you ask most women, they want a guy to take the lead, to take charge.
Yeah.
In the dating context,
yeah.
You want the guy to make pretty much all the moves.
Oh, fuck.
I do agree that women are contradictory. I agree with that. I know what you mean.
And you want a man, you see these memes, I want a guy who's gonna say, be ready at 7 p.m., I'm gonna pick you up, we're going here. Y'all want that. But then you also kind of don't want, they're totally mixed signals. And then also you say you want a leader, but you don't want to follow is the big thing. In order for somebody to be able to lead, if you want a man who's a leader, you got to be a follower. There is we can't both be the leader.
You don't think you can sometimes be, sometimes not be? You don't think you can kind of move around?
You can, but if you want the man to be a leader, I don't really think you can.
If that's what you want,
If that's what you, there can be some dynamics like that.
Yeah.
But if you want, broadly speaking, and I think women broadly speaking want men to be leaders.
Yeah, what you're saying is they're contradictory with themselves.
But and I get it, on a sort of biological, evolutionary level, you're attracted to men who are leaders, who are confident, who take initiative, who are masculine, who are dominant, who have those leadership traits. But feminism has put it into your mind not to be a follower. So you won't be submissive. You won't follow his lead. But you want him to be a leader. You want him to take the initiative. You want him to lead, but you won't follow. Be the leader, but I won't follow you. Doesn't make sense. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
If you want a leader, somebody's got to be the follower. And I can't lead with somebody who won't follow.
Yeah. But it doesn't mean that you must not have an opinion. Because sometimes it doesn't mean that you must not have an opinion. You're still in a relationship, right? I understand your synergy of followers and a leader. But in any leader follower, you still have you're still gonna have discussions. You're still gonna just earlier you said well, that's just weird. That's just not being humans.
If I'm the CEO, if I'm the CEO of a corporation, and I give a task to an employee, it's not the employee should not be
So that's how you want your woman to be. You're a CEO, and you just.
No, I'm using an analogy to better articulate the point.
Yeah.
So not an employee, but yeah.
Yeah, you're using the analogy because
if
like, that's
if she wants me to pay for the first date and do all the shit and be a leader, and she never approaches guys, she wants to be approached, she wants me to take the lead in every realm, she wants me to plan dates, everything, then
she must not have an opinion.
Then you should probably listen to what I say.
But
if you
you
want
can't listen to
ladies, if you want to start sliding into my DMs and hitting me up and paying for first dates and doing all this shit and moving things forward physically and sexually, then we can have a conversation about who should listen and who should be a follower, who should be a leader.
I don't see how that equates to like not having an opinion, not like
you can have an opinion.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like even earlier you said like someone that doesn't quarrel. It's like that's not a relationship. You're gonna have quarrels. I'm not saying you always. There's always gonna be discussions. You're always gonna have like you're two humans. Yeah.
No, there should be no quarreling.
Well, whatever you want to call it, but like you're never gonna to want someone who's always gonna agree with you. First of all, I would want to be challenged personally. I would want my ideas to be challenged. I would want my boyfriend to want to be challenged so that we can like find. Because for me, okay, what I know is like.
Though. Men and women are different.
They are.
Yeah. So.
But you guys, no, but you are. But I mean, if you talk about men, let's say like you talk.
Wait, I got to respond to the.
Okay.
You want to be challenged in a relationship. I don't. Most men, we contend with the world in our lives, right? The home has to be our peace, right?
Yeah.
If the home is not our recluse, if the home is not our peace, and you're quarreling and nagging and just constant conflict, because you're challenging us. That's not a good girlfriend. That's not a good wife.
Well, that's the thing. That's not a good boyfriend either. And I get that because my ex was kind of like that. But I'm saying like you're going to bump heads sometimes. You're not going to always, like I'm just saying it's going to happen. But there's a difference between that and like, always like creating problems, always creating conflicts. I get that, but that's for everybody. Nobody wants to be in a relationship. Like, you don't want a guy like that. You don't want a girl like that either. Okay. That's just a given. But you like to just want someone to constantly agree with you. It's like when you want. You don't want to know if you're wrong about something, or maybe you have to think something through a bit like further, or like maybe there are other options, or maybe
I will listen.
Like, perhaps if you don't mind, I would like to just ask you two very simple questions. The first is, you yourself personally, would you prefer to have a man who treated you more like an equal, or who treated you more like he was in the dominant role and you were to be a submissive follower? Which would you personally prefer? There's no wrong answer.
Yeah, I'm not even 100% sure because I haven't had a lot of relationships and I've had bad ones. So and I'm being honest, it's not that I don't want to answer. I'm just not sure what the synergy I would want to be in.
Okay.
Yeah. So well, maybe
let me ask you the second question, as I understand your answer to the first that you're not sure. Do you think that most men would prefer their women to be in a submissive position or a dominant one?
No, it's submissive. But again, I think what I'm arguing...
Yeah, right. Hang on.
Yeah.
Hang on. I agree that I think most men would prefer their women in a submissive role. And you agree with me that most men would prefer their woman in a submissive role.
I think so, yeah.
If that is true, then if you look for an equal role where you say, okay, wait a second, we're equals, it's not submission, don't you necessarily narrow the field of men for yourself, like by an incredible amount, right?
Yeah, possibly, yeah.
Yeah. So when Brian says this, it always sounds bad rolling off the tongue because we're so indoctrinated into egalitarianism. We're all interchangeable widgets and everybody's equal to everybody else. Clearly, though, you have a bit of life experience. You know that that's not true. So the question then becomes, can't you value a person's opinion, but at the same time dismiss it? Can't you say, I value what you're saying, but you're wrong, and I'm going to do this anyway, because that's what's for the greater good of our family. Can't you value an opinion and dismiss an opinion?
If like a message comes in
there was something
covering them up,
C-word.
you can go to the split. No, you're good. Go ahead, Andrew. Go ahead. Wait, what? Did something?
No, he exited out.
Oh.
I don't know why he's there.
Oops.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Can't see you.
Okay.
Something
Sorry,
Something happened? Or?
Yeah, I don't know. I just lost all audio.
Oh, weird.
So I was just, the end of my question is, can't you, at the same time you value opinion, you value an opinion, dismiss it?
Yeah, I don't see the logic in dismissing an opinion that I value. If I value your opinion, I'm going to think about it.
I value the opinion of my children, but I dismiss the opinions of them all the time, right?
Yeah.
So I don't understand.
But as grown-ups,
how is that illogical?
Well, that's a completely different scenario. You're talking about kids because kids are kids and because adults are adults.
Wait, hang on. My question to you was, can you value an opinion and dismiss the opinion that you value? You said, no, that's illogical, but I just showed you how that's not illogical.
Okay, yeah. But the way you value your kids' opinion is like, that kids are, kids. And it's different than the valuing of like your wife's opinion, right? We can agree with that.
Yeah, but hang on. Let's back up.
But your concept, yes.
I'm not saying that a woman is a kid. I was just giving you a comparison, a very quick comparison to show you how you could value an opinion while at the same time dismissing it.
Yes.
You say, okay, this is valuable, but I outright dismiss it. Even though I care about your opinion, it doesn't mean your opinion is going to be correct, right? I don't see why that couldn't be applied in intersexual dynamics between men and women. Of course it can be.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, that's
think,
what I'm saying
yeah.
is, yeah. So if we're looking at this objectively, when Brian says to you, well, wait, I want a woman who's submissive. You say most men want a woman who's submissive. You say, but I want an opinion. Brian says, well, you should have an opinion, but that doesn't mean I shouldn't be able to dismiss it. I don't see what you're actually disagreeing with.
But I mean, also, I think it's the definition of value too, like in the sense of like when I talk about the valuing the opinion of like grown-up adults, it's like it's you value it because it's something that you can actually like think about and like and again it depends on situations, but like kids generally, like young kids, it's like you don't value it in something that can be, well, sometimes yeah, it could be tangible, but anyways, yes, your concept, I get your concept, and yes, you can dismiss.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you
I
can
get,
value
yeah,
an
yeah,
opinion.
yeah. I get
You
your logic.
completely value an opinion and dismiss the
Yeah.
opinion at the same time that you value it. And
Yeah.
so what I think happens, and this is just my opinion, but I think we have a lot of sloganeering, where especially under egalitarianism, we think a lot about the slogans of like, but my opinion matters. It's like, yeah, I think your opinion does matter, but that doesn't mean that it's going to matter in every situation or that it shouldn't be dismissed and dismissed often. Because here's the thing, you and I both know, you're 39, you're not particularly young, right? A lot of people have a lot of opinions that are fucking stupid, right? Like, isn't that true? They just have a lot of really dumb opinions.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so I mean, and don't you dismiss those opinions all the time as just being stupid?
Yeah, but I think like this conversation goes back to our earlier conversation was like, but then we assume that like because you're a man, then it's better. I think that's where.
Well, then I'm going to ask you a couple other questions just to kind of figure this out, right, and see where this leads. Would you say, if you had to make the comparison, if you were on the spot, right, gun to your head, which sex do you think is more logical and reasonable, men or women?
Yeah, probably men.
Okay, well then, by this, so
mean-
then an entailment, hang on, so then an entailment there, if you think that men are more logical and reasonable, and you think that that is so, then why would my position of you should probably follow the logic and the reason be in any way disputed? It seems totally rational to me, right?
Well, first of all, I just don't think all men are logical, and
I'm not saying all.
No,
I'm
I know
saying
you're
that
not.
all-
I know you're not.
Yeah, nor am I
I know
saying
you're
that
not.
all women are not
but more
logical and rational.
Yeah, men generally are more logical than women, but I don't.
Would
think,
you rather have a leader who is more logical and rational or more emotional?
Yeah, of course, logical, rational.
Yeah,
but you
logical
need
and
you need
rational. So if
both.
men are more logical and rational,
But you need
and
both.
You'd rather have a leader who is more logical and rational, and you think that men would prefer a submissive wife, and you would prefer a leader, then it stands to reason to me that you would want the man to lead, right?
Sure. I just, my point is just, the way sometimes you talk about, or men talk about it, it's as if, or like, yeah, it's as if like, we shouldn't say anything. It would, like, it's improbable to just be with another human and just expect them to just never say anything, never get into conflict, never, like, because that.
I think that's, I understand what you're saying. And to steel man it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, what you're saying is, you hear a lot of rhetoric from different places which say, okay, we're going to just utilize women as objects, their opinions don't matter, and they need to just do what the fuck they're told at all times, day and night, right? Something akin to that?
Yeah, if you go to the extreme, basically,
Yeah.
of like what women hear, I think, and I think that's the big pushback.
Yeah, but you know who they
generally.
hear that from? They hear that from women. They hear that
Yeah,
from feminist
maybe.
They hear it from feminist propagandists. Men don't say that. They don't say, we hate women's opinion, and we hate women, and we want them to all be in abusive. They don't say that. What they say instead is, this is the role that I want, the role that I want for you. I don't really hear women or men ever producing the rhetoric that women's opinions don't matter. Rather, I hear feminist women claim that that's what men say. But I don't really hear men saying it.
Warlord69 you woo donated $99. Ryan07, Andrew God bless you, thank you for shining the light on everything that I used to be blind on. Question for the panel, what is the first thing you look for when visiting a new hotel?
What?
What the fuck? What?
Bed bugs? Can we agree? Bed bugs? I mean, bed bugs.
Hang on, Brian, wait. Okay, hang on. I gotta turn this into something now.
Oh.
Okay, Brian, you have OCD, right?
Yeah.
Do you take a black light with you to hotels, Brian?
No, but I bring my own pillow.
No.
I travel with my own pillow. Not, maybe you got me thinking, maybe I gotta bring my own sheets and shit, but that's a lot. And I will flip the mattress just to check for bed bugs, That's smart though. 200 IQ.
Yeah, that's smart.
That's smart. Risk mitigation. Mitigating the risk. What are you doing, fucking gang signs over there? What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
All right. throwing up something. I don't know.
Well, yeah, in any case, I appreciated the convo. I thought it was a good back and forth.
Yeah, thanks.
Quick follow-up on this. If you had to pick one, chivalry or equality?
Ooh.
Chivalry.
Oh, you have to pick one.
Yep.
I think it's more nuanced than that.
But you have to. Listen, if I have to pick the huge lesbian pink-haired lunatic in my genie wish, you got to pick one,
Yeah.
okay?
Because equality doesn't work either. I think both are like. I would say. I think I would say chivalry. I think it's a chivalry.
Me?
right. Go ahead. Just go ahead.
That's a good question. I see the benefits of both, but deep down, I think chivalry.
Mm-hmm.
Equality.
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 Now, to the women who said that you would prefer equality, I just wanted to kind of throw out what that would actually mean. All female privilege is gone. Men are no longer approaching you for dates. Men no longer slide into the DMs. Men are no longer paying for the dates. Men are no longer paying for anything. Men expect to be treated the exact same way that they treat women. They expect to be approached. They expect all of this. Would that change your value assessment at all?
Not for me.
No.
Then earlier you said you want chivalry?
But this is a question of this or
Sure.
that.
So you want chivalry, but not at the expense of equality.
Yes,
Okay,
I said I
see.
appreciate it.
Okay. Interesting. So you guys would be in favor of, for example, women being drafted in the military?
If it comes down to it, I mean.
Yeah. Would you guys? But
So for me, I personally do believe that men are physically stronger than women. I'm able to acknowledge these differences between
Sure.
genders. However, the question at hand was if I prefer this or that. So I chose equality.
yeah.
I do think that physical standpoint is something different.
Yeah,
I mean,
but hang on. No. You can't kind of slide out there, because you're giving us a value judgment. You're saying between these two things, chivalry, meaning that men are giving you all of the privileges that women get in society that men generally give you, versus equality, meaning all those privileges are gone, but you can basically vote. That's about all you get, really. You can just vote. That's really all it is, right? There's really nothing else. I don't really know what else there would be, except you can just basically vote. So you get that, but everything else is basically equalized, including the draft. Like, you would have to get drafted at the same rates as men, fight in the front lines the same way as men. If such a war came to pass, World War III, and you were drafted, would you go?
if that's my duty, yeah.
Yeah? Would you let them strap you up with armor and send you to the front line?
I mean, yeah, if I have to do something like that, I'll do it. You know, I
And
don't
how do you think you
anyone
would
prefers
perform
that,
versus
but-
the men?
I mean, like I said, I think there's a different physical capabilities for women and men. I do still, like she said, acknowledge biology and understand that most women.
So you would do worse.
Huh?
So you would do worse than the men.
Most likely, if I'm not trained enough.
Most
if I'm not
likely you would do
specialized.
worse than the men.
Yeah.
So doesn't it make more sense then, if men are supposed to be the fighting force, and men are supposed to be people in those positions, that you don't have to be in those positions, that they get additional privileges, not you?
Okay, but you're only bringing an example of like war zone situations, and I understand that men
The
would
most important situation?
the
What could
military.
possibly be more important than defending your nation against
Well,
other
of
nations? I
course.
couldn't even think of, if I was on the hierarchy of scale of what a government is supposed to do, the top priority is going to be the protection of its citizens, right?
Right, of course.
Yeah, that's going to be warfare, soldiers, force.
Right, but what I'm speaking about is that, don't you think that, for example, like there's two different things. There's an emotional and your intelligence and what you're able to do in a workforce, or versus physical capabilities. So perhaps men are more optimal to fight and protect the country, but there are all of other things that women would be just as, if not more optimal to do in a normal
What?
workforce.
Yeah, what?
I mean, women are really intellectual.
Hang on. Let me caveat this. Other than reproduction, what is a woman going to ever be better at in any of these markets than a man? What?
If you're speaking on generalities, I had that exact same question in first grade, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I can't name you one, but I think that you can. No, but
there's
but
not
there
a
are
single thing
exceptions.
that women are going to supersede men in,
No,
but
but
men
there's
are going
an
to supersede
exception.
women when it comes to force.
I'm saying
But you
is-
deserve the privilege and not the men. Yeah, that makes
What
sense.
I'm saying that
What?
women who do prefer equality, there's a reason why they prefer that, because they understand that their value is in different areas of life other than reproductive situations. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, but you're not really answering to the question. So I asked you this question. If men are the ones who are tasked to defend the nation, and they're the ones who are going to be tasked to do the force jobs, which they're tasked to do, why is it they don't deserve additional privilege? Your response to this was to say, well, that may be so, that men are equipped to do those force jobs, but this does not mean that women could not excel in other jobs that men can't. My ask of you was, well, what? Your answer is, there aren't any.
I don't know, like I don't have statistics of which gender does better which type of a job.
Well, I can tell you which ones there's more women in than men, and which ones there's more men in than women, but even that wouldn't answer the question of which jobs women specifically are going to do better than men.
Well, actually, that's just an example about one of the societies, but in Malaysia, there's actually a lot more women in computer science fields because they value their intellect, and that's considered more feminine.
It doesn't mean that they're better at it. So without equivocation, men are better soldiers than women. Yes?
Yes, majority, yes.
Yes. What job are women better at than men?
I would say like a lot of social work, perhaps.
They're not. Which social work are they better at? Not that there's more of them, but they're better at it.
Like psychiatrists, everything that involves a lot of mental.
How are women, and what makes women better at being psychiatrists than men?
Well, because they're more, I feel like if you're entering such a field, you have to be able to be more empathetic, and we all agree that women are more empathetic.
And you also need to be very logical, and we agreed that men are more logical.
Yes, but if you're...
I don't see how a man would not be just as good as a woman inside of the field of psychology nor psychiatry. In fact, I think psychiatry-wise, there's actually more men in that field. I think there's more women in the field of psychology.
Like I said, I don't have the exact statistics, and I'm not saying women would necessarily be better, but from a physical standpoint, the only thing is that I know for a fact that men fight better. I mean, we all know that, right? But I don't think that you can pinpoint on other specific jobs and say one is better than the other.
I agree. So if that is the case, I would just agree with you, right? I would just say you're right. I don't think in many of the, well, I think that there's some jobs we could say men are going to be better at it, right? So for instance, I think men in general are going to be better at underwater welding. I think they're going to be better at construction, at concrete laying. I think they're going to be better at roofing. I think that they're going to be better at an innumerable amount of jobs which require physical strength. Mm-hmm. However, I can't think of a single job which requires less physical strength that men are going to be worse at than women. I can't think of one. Can you?
No, go ahead.
I wouldn't say that these jobs women are better than men at, but some examples could be things like fashion design or art. Or
You mean, hang on. You mean the job that gay men have?
And
that's how you get all of the fashion of the world is invented by men. For women, specifically gay men.
Gay men are killing it.
Okay, so another example that I thought of is, you don't have to agree with this.
By the way, this is the case with makeup. This is the case with fashion. Mm-hmm. This is the case with, including lifestyle, all of that. That's all invented by men. That's all done by men.
The gays are doing a great job.
So some jobs that I thought of are caretaking, nursing. You don't.
No, I'm not laughing at you.
Hang on. Brian, let me go through them one at a time. Okay, let's take nursing. Nurses right now are on the. This is globally, not just here. Hospitals are desperate to have male nurses because women do not have the physical strength to move patients. They're desperate to get more male nurses. In the United States, there has been many such programs to destigmatize the gender distinction in nursing so that men don't feel like they have to feel bad by going into nursing, because that's how desperate nursing stations are to have men. Nobody would ever make the claim that female nurses are better than male nurses, only that there's more female nurses than male nurses.
So how about patients who are dealing with dementia and Alzheimer's and things of that nature? And
can you tell me what women are uniquely equipped to deal with when it comes to that men are not?
In my opinion, yes. If we're going by the traditional roles that women and men represent, I do feel that women are more empathetic and more nurturing and receptive.
But a dementia patient's going to forget all about that, right?
Well, that's not really the point.
I was joking. It's a joke. But even if that's the case, that women are more empathetic than men, in all of those situations, you would still need logic, reason, all of those other things, which you think that men have a kind of, well, not the monopoly, but they're better at. There's no way, you could never give me a trait set of why women would be better at taking care of dementia patients than men without me being able to give you a trait set back to say, okay, but this is why men would be better at it than women.
There are many jobs that need effectiveness and, logic and reasoning, but there are also jobs that exist that need that more patient and understanding kind of quality. And I do feel that women... Teaching, nursing?
Teaching doesn't require logic and reason. I would say teaching, out of all the jobs you could think of, requires logic and reason above everything else. Otherwise, how do you teach them anything?
In my personal experience, maybe from kindergarten to, I guess, like middle school, it was mainly more female teachers, or at least like male teachers that embody that feminine energy. Yes, I agree that there's more female teachers, but I don't understand the trait of empathy for teaching, why that's more valuable than logic and reason. Can you explain that to me? I think that empathy go hand in hand with passion, and with logic and reasoning. You don't really need passion for whatever you're doing, and if you don't have passion for your job, that can also be, I guess, transferred onto the students that you're teaching, and there's no effectiveness in teaching them either.
But you can be passionate and very logical and reasonable. This has nothing to do with empathy. You can be very passionate without having empathy for other people. You can be like a passionate serial killer, passionate about what you're doing, but that doesn't mean you have any empathy. I don't understand, though, if you're going to teach people how to do X thing, isn't logic and reason the thing you want above all other things? Like, I can't think of a more important trait. I'm not saying you don't need empathy. I'm not saying you don't need to have these other things. I'm just saying, wouldn't we value the logic and reason portion of teaching above everything when it came to teaching?
Well, I feel that I learned best, this is me personally, when a teacher was more passionate about their job and they're not telling us to open our books to like page 91 logic. Like, it has to be a mixture of both, but that is just my opinion. I do feel that.
How did a teacher teach you without logic?
I'm not saying they didn't use logic, but I'm saying that
how does somebody like empathetically teach you math? Like, I'm trying to think about it, right? How would one go about empathetically figuring out how to teach a person mathematics? I'm trying to think like how I can make you feel the math. How can I make you feel the math?
Empathy is about being able to place yourself in other people's shoes. So if there's students struggling with learning something, you would at least be able to, you would at least need the empathy to at least be patient with them and to understand the progress that they're making.
Yeah, but how would you make them feel the math?
I never said that they were making.
Yeah, how would you go about teaching it? So you tell me, real quick. Let's pretend for a second that I'm I don't know, first grader, and you're trying to teach me 1 + 1. What would be your first step to teaching me 1 + 1?
So for me, is it just one student that I'm teaching, or is it a whole class?
Just one student. Yeah.
And what is their, I guess, like capacity of?
They have a normal capacity of a first grader, whatever that is.
Okay.
Big Sass Energy donated $99. Blows my mind that people think empathy is an overwhelming need in taking care of people that are out of their mind. Affirming mental illness is not care, it's the opposite.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that, but I'm going to leave that aside for right now, Big Sass. I think that's a good point, though. But if you're teaching a student 1 + 1, what do you think step 1 would be?
And that's why I did mention more other careers outside of math. Like, I feel like you're using math.
Yeah, I know, but let's start with that. Let's start with it, because you mentioned
example
teaching.
Doesn't really
okay,
validate
fine.
What I'm saying.
History. You're trying to teach me the Battle of the Bulge. What's step 1?
So for me, I'm talking about careers or teaching when it involves like arts, fine arts. I feel like when you use science or history or things that have
sex education. What would be step 1 for sex education? What would you say for that? How about physical education? Like, I can't actually think of anything in regards to teaching where you wouldn't value reason and logic above everything else. Okay, I really can't. And I'm willing to give you the floor to demonstrate to me that I'm incorrect by just telling me pick any teaching subject you can possibly think of and tell me what step 1 to it would be.
Well, English and step 1 would be, for example, like there are different English classes. I just recently took literary device or like poetry, and you would need to feel that and be passionate about what and be able to understand
so poetry. You're passionate about poetry. What's step 1 to teaching me poetry? What would be the first thing you would do?
I would first preface by saying that there's no wrong answers in poetry.
Okay, there's no wrong answers in poetry. What next?
I would allow my students to kind of first like read through a poem and be able to like freely think and express what they truly feel from the poem, and then based off that, we would have a discussion.
I don't understand, teacher, Edgar Allan Poe's poem here. What does the beating heart represent?
What do you think it represents?
Now we're in logic and reason.
You can definitely fuck up a haiku, I'm just saying. Like, you can definitely fuck up a haiku. You can even fuck up a soliloquy. Like that's really easy to... You ever fucked up a soliloquy? That... Pantamic... What's that one? The pantamic... Tamanimer? Wait, what is it? Anissa, what is it? The
Pantamic?
Pantamic? Dynamner?
Yeah. Ryan, my audio's a bit scuffed. I'm going to jump and come right back in.
Yeah, no worries. Well, while he does that, guys, TTS is $69. If you guys want to get it in, you can go to twitch.tv/whatever, drop us a follow and a Prime sub if you have one, twitch.tv/whatever, drop us a follow. We have to do a couple reacts too. You can also like the video, guys. Guys, like the video if you're watching on YouTube. Hit that like button.
There we go. That's better.
We got Twitch, twitch.tv/whatever. There it is, guys. Guys, it's been a minute since we last had the Prime. I think it's probably bugged. If somebody can, probably bugged. Help, I guess. All right, and then yeah, that's pretty much it. All right, like the video, cool. Yo, Brian, thank you for the membership. Appreciate it, bro. $69 TTS. Got a couple things we need to get through. So here, let me try to get through a bunch of this as quick as possible. Let's do the dating app. Or actually, it's just photos, right?
Yeah, it's just fun.
Let's just save time. Do we save time and just skip it?
We just finish fun.
Sorry. They can. I mean, we saw like old you and young you, so it's pretty much the same. Okay, and then we need to do. I'm just gonna save. What are the? Can you tell me what the reacts are, Austin?
Yeah, can you go back?
It's just like the inside edition thing, and then there's
It's the catcalling one, and then there's a
TikTok.
TikTok or a
We don't need the TikTok. And what's the other one? Sorry, guys. 1 moment.
you have the followers list, and then the catcalls turn, and then you TikTok, and that's it.
Okay. Yeah, we'll save those for another day, just because we're limited on time. Here are a couple rapid fire questions going around the table. Do you consider yourself a feminist?
No.
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 Nay.
I was actually just. Can I just ask you a quick question? What do you
Sure.
define as feminism?
Can you guys hide that
Yeah.
until you get it fixed? It's a good question. I mean, there's a couple different definitions. So there's my charitable definition.
Well, hang on. We would ask you first, what would you define as a feminist?
Well, feminism is about wanting equal rights between men and women, right?
Okay.
So yes.
Is that how you would define it?
Yes.
Equality between men and women. So I suppose I'll give you, here, Austin, can you just take over? I'm just, okay. Charitable definition. Feminism is woman's advocacy. That's the most charitable definition I would ever give it. It's never been about equality. This is just factually true. Feminists don't care about equality. There's nothing wrong with women's advocacy, but to parade feminism as an equality movement is laughable. Nothing wrong with women's advocacy, but let's not pretend like feminists really give a fuck about equality. The actual definition of it is, I think it's women's advocacy plus a man-hating ideology. That's what I think it is.
I see. Okay. So, what do you mean by charitable definition?
So charitable would be the nicest.
I see. Okay. But wouldn't you say that that's a definition when it comes to radical feminists instead of like genuine feminism?
Well, I can ask you a couple questions to clarify this. Is patriarchy theory a core tenet of feminism, even normal mainstream feminism?
Can you ask one more time?
Is patriarchy a core tenet of mainstream feminism?
No.
That there is a patriarchy?
Yes.
Oh,
I think you need to
Okay.
explain what's a core 10 or whatever you said. I think that's what-
Like
Like,
core
what-
tenet.
like courting
a,
and
it's a
that's-
core belief
Okay,
of the
core.
ideology.
Okay, that's what, I don't think you understood that.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, and this ideology teaches primarily women what?
That misogyny
Okay.
is ingrained within society, I guess.
Okay, now let me ask you a couple questions. Do you think that the patriarchy has to do with an oppressor-oppressed narrative? So women are oppressed, correct?
I don't agree with that, though. It's just
You don't think, okay, do you think women were oppressed historically then?
yes.
But they're no longer oppressed in any capacity to this day.
In my opinion, no, not in this country.
Okay, that's fair. But you do think they were oppressed historically?
Yes.
Okay, and so, but you believe there's a patriarchy. Does this patriarchy have a tendency to oppress women?
Oh, fuck me.
So
man.
for me, I
that
personally
shit.
believe, and according to like the definition of feminism, that it's just about advocating for women's rights when there is some sort of inequality, and so I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I do feel
But
like you're almost.
but it's not an equality movement. You said it's advocating for women's rights.
But I just feel like what you're defining is only going after, I guess, the like stereotypical feminist who's very radical in their beliefs.
Well, is the stereotype wrong?
I'm-
Let me ask you a question. So every single university in this country, college, whatever, every single one has a feminist study, gender study, women's studies program, right? If you take Feminism 101 or whatever, the introduction to feminism, the lecture, whatever it is, do they teach you about patriarchy and female oppression?
I'm sure they do.
Yeah. And so it sets up an oppressor-oppressed narrative, and it pits the sexes against each other. If you teach swaths of young women that men are to blame for everything, it's men who are the oppressors and women are the oppressed, and women collectively are oppressed and men collectively are the oppressors, are women supposed to feel positive or think positive things towards the oppressor class?
No, I don't think that's the objective, though, with true
But
feminism.
if you take any feminism class, the words patriarchy, oppression, oppressed, oppressor are going to come up. Under feminism, who is the oppressor? Men? Who's the oppressor? Is it men?
Well, according to them, I guess.
According to feminist theory, men are the oppressors, right? And who are the oppressed?
Women.
Do the oppressed get to have contempt for the oppressor?
Yes.
Do the oppressed have to overcome the oppressor? Do the oppressed have to defeat or in some way
I think defeat's fine.
Defeat or tear down the oppressor? So this is a narrative that is taught to vast swaths of women, and it teaches women to hate men and have contempt for men and view men as having historically put on some sort of injury onto women. Women have a historical and even current day grievance, a significant grievance, women as a group towards men as a group. So I think that this would teach women to either have bias, on the low end, bias or bigotry against men, or on perhaps the more extreme end, have contempt or hatred towards men. So that's my sense of what feminism is.
Okay, I didn't know what we were agreeing to was your definition of feminism rather than...
But I just walked you through it, and you agreed with me on all these things when it comes to the oppressor-oppressed dynamic. Mm-hmm. Right. So...
Well, and I think it's fine to say, like if you have a different definition or what you think feminism is, as opposed to what Brian just said, I think it's fine for you to tell us what that is.
I mean, for me, I do believe feminism is about advocating, like you mentioned, more for any inequalities, or even like advocating for women because of just almost like lifting up the women empowerment movement in a sense. And that doesn't have to come at the demise of men, but that is only when it happens in a more radical, I guess, violent way that maybe stereotypical feminists do.
It literally sounded to me like you just kind of agreed with Brian's definition of feminism, to be honest with you. The only kind of caveat that you threw in there was they don't have to be violent to overthrow the oppressor, but Brian never included that in his definition. He just said if there's an oppressed group, it is the oppressed group's duty to throw off the oppressor. It sounds like you kind of agree with that, right?
I just don't think there's anything wrong with, I guess, I almost feel like the feminism is when you acknowledge your role as a woman, a female within society, and being able to uplift other women in that manner, and I guess advocating for any inequalities if they find some. But I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Well, hold on.
Okay. Well, I think that's fair too. I just asked this one question. You think that female advocacy is perfectly acceptable, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So when men advocate for men, is that also perfectly acceptable?
Warlord 69 you donated $69. Feminism, I follow other women because they give me power from the oppression that doesn't exist, but because the media keeps telling me that it does exist, I'm gonna keep yelling about it.
Warlord, thank you very much, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's very kind of you to send in the dollars there. So just kind of quickly back to this. You think it's okay for men to advocate for men too, right?
1,000%.
So what happens when women advocate for women and men advocate for men, and we come to different conclusions as to how each should be treated?
So I'm almost thinking of the example of when men are able to recognize that society makes it so that they're supposed to repress their emotions, and that's why there's such a high unalive rate with men. And when men choose to speak out about that...
Well, hang on. I want to correct something very quickly. Actually, men and women attempt to unalive themselves at about the same rates. It's just that men are way better at it. So they take the final solution, they grab the pistol, and women take pills and shit like that, but men just happen to be far better at doing so. If a woman says, I want to be unalive today, and a man says, I want to be unalive today, they do try to off themselves at the same rates, roughly the same. I mean, it's very close. It's just that men get the job done.
Right, but that doesn't really have anything to do with what I was going to say, is that when men are able to recognize the reality of between man to man, what they go through in their day-to-day life because of them being a man, I don't think there's anything wrong with advocating for one another. Yeah,
sure, but what if they say, okay, well, the reason we're going through all this is because those women fucking suck.
But that's why I also said that I don't believe that it's all people who are that radical when it comes to feminism, and I wouldn't agree with that.
But it's mainstream feminism. It's mainstream feminism. You go to any university, you take an intro to feminism class, they're going to teach you patriarchy theory. They're going to teach you the oppressor-oppressed dynamic between men and women. And they're going to say men are the oppressors and women are the oppressed.
There are still feminists who are actually, thinking how she defined it. I understand
Which is what?
That, just advocating for women's rights. In the same way, men should probably do that too. But
Advocate for women's rights?
For men's rights.
Oh, okay, sure.
But the thing is that I think we both agree that there's fundamental issues in the mainstream feminism, like you mentioned, and there are some things that need to be changed, because the matter of fact is, right now, it's not a patriarchy anymore. So there is some things that need to be changed. And I also almost think that feminists need to heal from the fact that we got out of this hole, now it's more equal. So
It's the most equal it's ever been.
Exactly. So there are some issues, but as an idea of equality, that's what you meant. Like, that's why I support.
Well, I mean, my pushback there, just one little nitpick, is when feminists say feminism's about equality, and I say the most charitable definition is it's a women's advocacy movement. If there's a form of equality where women don't stand to benefit or it comes to women's detriment, but it's equality, feminists won't fight for it. Women won't fight for it. So feminism's not an equality movement. And this is just, the perfect example is just forced military conscription. We've had over 100 years of women being able to vote. For men to be able to vote, we have to be subject to forced military conscription. We've got to register with the Selective Service. 100 years. Feminists are not saying equalize forced military conscription. And in that time period, we've had numerous World War II, Korean War, Vietnam War. Men were drafted in these wars. Men would still be alive had they not been drafted. There are men who are still alive who were drafted, who have terrible injuries. I'm talking specifically about Vietnam, who are still alive, who've got PTSD, all this kind of stuff. And so I don't really think feminists are like striving for equality. You're striving to secure female benefits. And if that means fighting for equality and that gets women benefits, they'll do it. But you'll never fight for equality if it could conceivably come to the detriment of women. And I don't think you can actually make an argument against that, because a glaring example is forced military conscription. I think being drafted for anybody is a detriment to one's life. Mm-hmm. If you're drafted into the military, I think it's hard to argue that it's not a detriment. It would be a detriment to women if they were subject to military conscription and all the negative ramifications that come with either being drafted, or if you don't register for the Selective Service, there's various issues that can arise there. But where are the feminists in the streets? Like, I want to be drafted. They ain't fine for it. It's not an equality movement.
Okay, so then when you said the charitable definition was women's advocacy, then putting that aside, like the equality or fighting for equality, wouldn't that just be like more of a movement to empower other women? So I don't.
Sure.
So maybe then.
Sure, but you can't parade it around as an equality movement when it's not.
Okay, then I can agree with that.
Okay, sure.
So.
Well, I have a very quick question I'd like to ask everybody on the panel. Get everybody to participate while we're on the topic of feminism.
Wait, Andrew, I apologize. She was in the middle of something. I do just want to give her an opportunity just to finish it. But then we'll ask her question. Go ahead.
Sorry,
If you forgot,
you were in the middle of something. If you forgot,
I kind of just forgot.
It's all right. All right, go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to jump in there. I thought the exchange was done. So just very briefly, I'd like to kind of tell you guys a few things. You are aware that women couldn't have credit cards until very recently, and they couldn't have bank accounts, right? This is fairly recent. Did you guys know that? Women couldn't have those things.
Do you mind telling me how recent?
Yeah, well, actually, I'm going to pull up the exact date, just so you have it. So I think that this was, let's see, 1974, looks like. So 1974, before they could have credit cards, right? That seems pretty unfair, right? They couldn't even have them, right? Or bank accounts, things like that. That seems pretty, do you guys agree that that's fundamentally unfair?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I would like to ask you this question, though. In the 1950s, when women couldn't have these things, can I get a show of hands of the women here who think that relationships right now in the year 2024 are more stable and better than they were in the 1950s, just by a show of hands? Can I get a show of hands of the women who think that the relationships in the year 2024 are more unstable than they were in the 1950s?
Unstable?
Unstable.
Yeah, it's more. I'm pretty sure they are.
So just nobody else has an opinion? Do you think that the relationships in the year 1950 were more or less stable than they are now? By a show of hands.
Well, he said more.
Yeah. Do you think that they were more stable in the 1950s?
Yes.
Yes. Than they are right now? And do you think in the year 2024 that relationships are less stable than they were in the 1950s?
Yes.
So can any of you explain to me why it would be in a million years that even though women were suffering under this type of horrific oppression, that relationships were better under that oppression than they are right now when women are the most liberated they've ever been?
Well, stability can mean a lot of things. It can be stably bad. You can, because they did.
Do you think that they were stably bad, or do you think that the relationships were better? When you talk to your grandparents, do they tell you how horrible things were, or do they tell you things were better? You tell me.
Honestly, like I had a lot of mixed opinions on that. Like,
Yeah. They mostly say it was better, right? They mostly say it was better. Most of the time you talk to people who are older than you, especially significantly older than you, I can tell you right now the 90s were better. The 90s were better than the year 2024. I promise you they were better. In every conceivable way I can think of, it's not nostalgia, they were better.
but I think that has to do something with also, like I mentioned before, with social media and people feeling like they have to put up a face and all that stuff. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah, it's not just
Well,
one
okay,
thing.
well, wait a second. That's really weird because the internet is a recent invention. This is not an old invention. People, don't you think people in the 90s, so let me ask you this. The year is 1980. There is no internet. There's no internet in the year 1980. Do you think relationships were better or worse?
Better.
Better. They're better, right?
Well, they were more.
So now, so now moving forward, right? You hit the internet age. You think that the internet age is what destroyed everything?
I think so. Well, I don't think it's the only reason, but there's a big influence in that. 100%. Yeah.
What is it?
Like I said.
What is the thing about social media that destroyed everything between men and women?
Because people it's
E-boys probably did it.
people try to portray themselves as someone they're not in social media. Everyone's are constantly trying to one up each other. There's no authentic
Twerking.
connections anymore.
Definitely twerking did it.
Dating apps are way more superficially based. There's a lot of reasons. Yeah.
Yeah, so what's the number one reason that you think things were better back then?
I also
K-pop. Sorry.
And by the way, the reason I brought this example up is because in the year 1980, women had those equalities, right? They had those equalities, and yet you still say that the relationships were better, even then. So are we pinpointing this on the internet? And what is the thing about the internet that has messed relationships up?
there's more easy access to more people because of the internet, so therefore you're looking at more people than they did back then, where back then they actually believed in true love, I guess, and now it's kind of way more accessible, and so therefore that traditional marriage or traditional kind of love is dying out.
Yeah, people see that they have more options now, even if that's not the case. They're like, oh, there's this guy or this girl, and there's this, yeah.
Okay, so you think that the entirety of relationship dynamics have been destroyed, not because of the feminist move for women to become empowered snobs, but rather because women have more choices in men, and so what, they're going for a select group of men?
I think men also have those choices as well, and maybe I can consider...
No, men don't have those choices.
It's still more easily accessible for men with the
No,
internet.
it's not more easily accessible for men. It was way more easy. So here, I can demonstrate this for you. If you were localized and there was only 50 women who were in your community versus 50 men, right? Wouldn't the women be far more accessible to the men and the women to the men? Because these are your only choices, right? Right? Well, now it's a buffet. But let me ask you a question. Do you think on a dating app that a guy who's as attractive as you are just for a male as opposed to a female, do you think that you get more people DMing you or he gets more people DMing him?
Most likely me.
Most likely you.
Wait, do you have
So
a brother?
that means that from the sexual selection perspective, you have way more options than he does, right?
Wait, really quick, do you have a brother?
I do.
How old is he?
He is 18.
18. Okay, still
Actually,
be, oh, 19. And you're 22, right? Who's crushing, like who could crush it more, you know?
Crush it?
Who could crush it more? Like if you guys had to do like a competition, just to fuck or whatever, like who could just crush it?
I don't like those two words in the same sentence, but I would say I guess me.
Yeah. Like you would, but it wouldn't. It's not even a competition, right? Like you would just fuck him up.
Yeah, and I can't not acknowledge the fact that, like, it's true that when you see, like, a woman's, like, dating profile versus a man's, and they could be equally attractive, it's always the women that get more matches, and I'm not going to deny that, but I do feel that because of the internet, it does still make it more easily accessible to both man and women.
There's a lot of men who prefer to not commit to a lot of women anymore. Like, that's pretty common in this day and age.
Maybe the top tier guys, maybe.
I would say most. At least our age. Yeah.
Yeah, but those men, I mean, most men aren't willing to commit to a woman?
I feel like a lot nowadays more.
What percentage of men are you attracted to?
I don't have a percentage. I think my type is weird, but yeah. I don't know.
Okay.
But also, like,
Because I feel like most men are invisible to y'all. Like most men, you wouldn't even consider. Whereas like most men find most women attractive. Most women definitely do not find most men attractive.
Yeah.
Huge differential.
Tom_Stone donated
Thank you,
$100.
thank you, Tom. Appreciate it, man.
Marine Corvette here. Name one right you don't have that men do at this point in time. Name one.
Anybody on this? Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it, man. Anybody? Going once, going twice?
Yeah, well, what I was getting at, we were right there, is the idea that if the internet has messed things up and sexual selection for women is very high, then how come men are having such a hard time finding women?
I feel like nowadays.
Sorry.
I feel like nowadays women are. I can't deny the fact that women now have this mindset, like as a collective. I'm not saying I relate to it, but it's the truth where women are like, oh, independent and like I don't need a man kind of energy. So therefore, men also have like not proven, but it's like I guess in a study where men have said that they're more intimidated by women nowadays because of the rejection that they'll face or this fear of being seen as like a creep or something.
Yeah, you have 100 DMs for every one DM a man might get, possibly 1,000, possibly 500, right? But it's going to be significantly more, right? Men are going to DM you significantly more than you DM them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that it's possible that most of the women are responding to the same type of man?
Same type of man.
Well,
Yeah.
everyone, well,
So if you have this giant pool of men to select from now that you didn't have before, and now you can select for the top tier ones that you want. They're over 6'2", perhaps. They make a lot of money. They're very good looking. Do you think that women would compete over those men?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so too. And do you think if they were localized and they only knew about the men in their local area pre-internet, they wouldn't have to compete, right?
Andrew, wouldn't there still be competition?
Yeah, but it would be localized competition.
Right, yeah.
Localized meaning it's not a buffet, right? Right now you have a buffet. If you get 100 DMs, you can go through 100 guys and pick and choose, right? Men can't do that, correct?
Correct.
So doesn't it stand to reason that if men are having trouble finding women, that women are going for this kind of top tier of men? They're all going for kind of those same guys.
I still will stand by like the fact that I do believe both men and women have more access to dating and having more of a variety when it comes to dating due to the internet. And I'm not saying one is like getting it more.
No, they don't have the same access.
I'm not saying
That's
we
insane.
have the same access, but I'm saying we both have grown with variety due to the internet at different scales.
Okay, but again, I'm gonna ask you this again. If men get no DMs from women and you get 500 DMs from men, who has the selection buffet? Men or women?
Women.
Women. And does it stand to reason that they would go for the best looking and the ones who were the best looking and made the most amount of money?
Sure.
Yeah, and it would stand to reason that men would go for like the hottest women, right?
Right.
Okay, so then if that is the case, couldn't it be possible that women are just really all competing over a small select group of men?
Sure, yes.
Yeah, so this is called hypergamy.
But was
And the
it,
idea here is that I agree with you that the internet is what destroyed dating. I just wanted to kind of walk you through how it did. Absent localization, right? Meaning we live in a farm town in the 1950s. There's only 30 women to choose from, right? I'm going to pick one of those women. And those women don't have access to men external, those same men in the farm town. So they're going to only have X amount to pick from. But what happens when we open up that global market? Well, now all women can compete for 10%, 5% of men, right?
Which that
And
was my argument.
that's exactly what's happening.
Yes.
How many DMs do you respond to?
Huh?
How many DMs do you respond to?
I don't check my DMs. I don't respond to DMs.
Wait, these girls got to answer the question too. How many? Because they're making faces.
You go first.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh. Expose myself.
Wait.
Whatever.
So okay, how many DMs have you gotten in your whole life?
More than 100.
Thousands, maybe.
Thousands, yeah.
Wait, into the mic. You're way too far.
Oh, yeah, more than thousands.
How many DMs have you sent out?
Less than 5.
Okay. How many DMs have you received?
not that many. Also, I'm from, I'm older, so like
Yeah,
back in the days it was very different. But yeah, and now that I'm older, then
some shit.
it's not the same thing. It's not the
Okay.
same thing.
All right.
Okay, well, we'll get back to that. We're going to get back to that, though.
What? How many?
Oh, how many DMs have you gotten, Morgan?
I don't know.
Hundreds?
I don't count. Yeah, sure.
How many DMs have you sent?
0.
0. Okay. How many DMs have you received?
Dude, I don't even count.